It's a lot nicer to go around with a guy, you know, said George. A powerful, big-stomached man came into the bunkhouse. His head still dripped water from the scrubbing and dousing. "Hi, Slim," he said, and then stopped and stared at George and Lenny. "These guys just come," said Slim by the way of introduction. "Glad to meet y'all," the big man said. "My name's Carlson. I'm George Milton. This here's Lenny Small." "Glad to meet ya," Carlson said. Again. "He ain't very small." He chuckled softly at his joke. "Ain't small at all," he repeated. "Meant to ask you, Slim, how's your bitch? I seen she wasn't under your wagon this morning." "She slang her pups last night," said Slim. "9 of 'em. I drowned 4 of 'em right off. She couldn't feed that many. Got 5 left, huh?" "Yeah, 5. I kept the biggest. What kind of dogs you think they're gonna be?" "I don't know," said Slim. "Some kind of shepherds, I guess. That's the most kind I've seen around here where she was in heat." Carlson went on. "Got 5 pups, huh? Gonna keep all of them?" "I don't know. Have to keep them a while so they can drink Lulu's milk," Carlson said thoughtfully. "Well, look-a here," said Slim. "I've been thinking. That dog of Candy's is so goddamn old he can't hardly walk. Stinks like hell, too. Every time he comes into the bunkhouse, I could smell him for 2 hours, 3 days. Why didn't you get Candy to shoot his old dog and give him one of the pups to raise? I can smell that dog a mile away. Got no teeth, damn near blind, can't eat. Candy feeds him milk. He can't chew nothing else." George had been staring intensely at Slim. Suddenly, a triangle began to ring outside, slowly at first, and then faster and faster until the beat of it disappeared into one ringing sound. It stopped as suddenly as it had started. "There she goes," said Carlson. Outside, there was a burst of voices as a group of men went by. Slim stood up slowly and with dignity. "You guys better come on while there's still something to eat. Won't be nothing left in a couple minutes." Carlson stepped back to to let Slim proceed him, and then the two of them went out the door. Lenny was watching George excitedly. George rumpled his cards into a messy pile. "Yeah," George said. "I heard him, Lenny. I'll ask him." "A brown and white one," Lenny cried excitedly. "Come on, let's get dinner. I don't know whether he got a brown and white one." Lenny didn't move from his bunk. "You ask him right away, George, so he won't kill no more of 'em." "Sure. Come on now. Get up on your feet." Lenny rolled off his bunk and stood up, and the two of them stared at the door. Just as they reached it, Curly bounced in. "You seen a girl around here?" he demanded angrily. George said coldly, "About half an hour ago, maybe." "Well, what the hell was she doing?" George stood still, watching the angry little men. He said insultingly, "She said she was looking for you." Curly seemed really to see George for the first time. His eyes flashed over George, took his height, measured his reach, looked at his trim middle. "Well, which way'd she go?" he demanded at last. "I don't know," said George. "I didn't watch her go." Curly scowled at him and, turning, hurried out the door. George said, "You know, Lenny, I'm gonna tangle with that bastard myself. I hate his guts. Jesus Christ, come on. There won't be any damn left to eat." They went out the door. The sunshine lay in a thin line under the window. From a distance, there could be heard a rattle of dishes. After a moment, the ancient dog walked lamely in through the doorway. He gazed about with mild, half-blind eyes. He sniffed and then lay down and put his head between his paws. Curly popped into the doorway again and stood looking into the room. The dog raised his head, but when Curly jerked out, the grizzled head sunk to the floor again. Although There was an evening brightness shone through the windows of the bunkhouse. Inside it was dusk. Through the open door came the thuds and occasional clangs of the horseshoe game, and now and then the sound of voices raised in approval or derision. Slim and George came into the darkened bunkhouse together. Slim reached up over the card table and turned on the tin-shaded electronic light. Instantly, the table was brilliant with light, and the cone of the shade threw its brightness straight downward, leaving the corners of the bunkhouse still in dusk. Slim sat down on a box, and George took his place opposite.